Hello, everybody. We're back for the second round of Malloy's movie reviews. Today, we're going to talk about The Help. This has been a movie that there's been a lot of talk about, good deal of publicity. I was kind of spurred to see it the other day when I looked at the attendance figures, and Planet of the Apes looked to have beaten The Help over the weekend, and I was kind of shocked by that because I hadn't actually heard that good a word of mouth about Planet of the Apes, so I figured either something's gone wrong or they're just not getting the right kind of publicity. So I had to see it for myself. I'd been meaning to, and I was really glad I did. Let me just start off by saying that this movie is coming out in the time of the year where you expect to see some good movies coming out for the most part. Uh, Movie studios tend to keep the junk for the beginning of the year, the stuff that was either not Oscar worthy or something went wrong for the beginning of the year, and they kind of use it as a filler for the rest of the year. But starting in July, August, September, the really good stuff starts to come out. And I think the producers saw a lot of great stuff in this movie, and I think for good reason. So this is a movie that's coming out at the right time of the year. It's telling me that the movie has a lot of potential, and again, I liked it a lot. So let's talk about it a little bit right now. The movie starts off with Skeeter, who's played by Emma Stone, and I have to say, Emma Stone's been getting a lot of great play lately. She's obviously got a big future ahead of her. I think I've seen her in 3 movies in the last month, so she's getting around. She comes into town to Jackson, Mississippi, her hometown. She has graduated from college. She's gotten a little bit of experience, but mainly she's trying to, get a life start. And she goes to the local newspaper on a hope and a prayer, and ends up getting hired to write the local kind of advice column. She talks about things like housekeeping, cooking, all that kind of jazz. Anyway, that's a job for her, and she's making a few bucks. But as the movie goes on, you can see that really she wants to do something bigger and better, and she sees a bigger cause in life. So uh, she talks to a publisher in New York about a book that she's thinking about writing, and effectively what she wants to do is talk to the help. In other words, she wants to talk to these uh, people in her neighborhood that are actually doing the work for the people that she lives near. And let's talk about what that is. This movie is set in the early '60s. It's set in obviously a very rich part of Jackson, Mississippi. It's a time where black women are housekeepers routinely. And in this particular movie, it seemed like every neighbor had a housekeeper. And so, again, I think it was a relatively high income type area. I'm not sure it was necessarily standard for the probably the county or even certainly not the state. But in this area, everybody seemed to have a housekeeper and a gardener, and they were typically black. So that was sort of the setting. And what Emma wanted to do was to interview some of these people and get their perspective of what this type of life was about. She saw a lot of, I think, blatant mistreatment, and I think that she saw a real story there. This was at the same time that Martin Luther King was around, the same time that Bobby Kennedy got shot. That's one of the parts in the movie. And so anyway, that's kind of what the storyline is about. I think there's been a lot talked about relative to this movie. A lot of people have read the book. I'm not going to go into the storyline a whole lot because I don't think that's where the big story is here necessarily. If you take a look at what the basic theme of this story is, it's really full of these timeless sorts of ideas and ideals. It's about courage, honesty, truth, friendship, and really that is what the movie is all about. It happens to fit really well into the setting that it's placed into. But the thing that I like to talk about is that this movie really could have been filmed in many different eras. This could have been filmed in biblical times. This could have been filmed in World War I, World War II. Could have been filmed in the Iraqi wars. It could have been filmed in any great number of areas where there's strife, and more importantly, where there's sort of the quote-unquote upper class or superior class and lower class or inferior class. And invariably in those types of situations, mistreatment takes place. So what this movie is about is the people that recognize that, especially the people that are part of that upper crust, that are going about to try to make change because they see the injustice in it. That's effectively the role that Skeeter plays, and she goes in and tries to really, make maybe not permanent change and maybe not radical change, but she tries to make the change that will make a difference, at least in her lives and the people's lives she knows. Um, Now, if you take a look at this movie, I think one of the best ways to take a look at it really is to take a look at the cast and characters, because the cast and characters are what really this movie is all about. And one thing I will say is that this movie had more good acting than almost any movie I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, literally, you had 6 to 7, 8 maybe actors and actresses that just really did a great job. It's actually mostly actresses, I should say. There was a couple of male appearances, but not too many. But the women, my goodness, you could have at least 2 solid Best Supporting Actress nominations come out of this, and maybe even a Best Actress award. I'm not sure I would say that for sure, but it could possibly happen. If you take a look at the primary character, I shouldn't say primary, but if you want to take a look at this superior class, the superior class is represented by a gal named Hilly. Hilly's played by Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, as a matter of fact. She's been getting some pretty good role play in the last couple of years, too. Played Gwen in Spider-Man, among other things. Hilly represents, I would have to say, the worst of the upper class. She's snobby. She looks down on the black housekeepers. She even goes so far as to try to introduce legislation that will make their life even worse. She's encouraging her neighbors to build outdoor toilets for the workers because it's somehow unhealthy for them to be using the same restrooms. But the interesting thing about Hilly is you can look at it as though she is looking down on the black workers, but the truth is she's an equal top opportunity offender. She thinks she's better than everybody, including all her white friends and neighbors. And that's really the kind of perspective you come to with her. If you take a look at the next character in the movie, you've got Minnie Jackson and you've got Adeline. Minnie Jackson is played by Octavia Spencer, and Adeline is played by Viola Davis. I know I've seen Octavia Spencer in a few movies, and I have to tell you, both of these actresses do an incredible job. They're among the best performances I've seen in movies in a long time. Both of these could be nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars. I have to say, Minnie probably has a little bit more personality, and so if I were to say something, if there were a toss-up, I would probably have to go her way. But again, spectacular acting by all these people. These are 2 people that in ordinary times could hardly make a difference in their own lives, let alone other people's lives. They're just trying to stay alive. But as Emma goes around trying to put her story together and she tries to find people to help her out, these 2 women out of dozens are the only 2 that are willing to step up initially and actually provide those interviews. And again, in the timeless sort of sense of heroes, you never know who the heroes are going to be. They're always unlikely. And Minnie and Abilene both, come to the forefront in this case, and are, become the heroes that are needed in this particular story. So it's an incredible job of acting by them, and they really add a lot of grit to the movie. The next person I would talk about would be Celia. Celia, if there's someone on the top of the heap in the superior class, it's Hilly. If there's someone on the bottom of the heap, it's Celia. Celia's actually a beautiful gal. She's played by Jessica Foote. She does a really good job, actually. Another good actress in the movie. She makes the unfortunate mistake of going out with one of Hilly's old boyfriends, and apparently they think there's something going on in there, and the next thing you know, she's basically been cast out of the in crowd, and she can't even get 2 people over for dinner. Between her and her husband, they're the only 2 that probably ever lay foot in that house. So they've kind of been cast out, and the worst part is she wants a housekeeper, but she can't even get one because Hilly's put the word out that nobody should be doing anything for her. Well, an incident occurs, and it's a hilarious incident, and I'm not going to go into that because it kind of would give away too much of the movie, where Hilly ends up getting fired, and not Hilly. Hilly ends up firing Minnie, and in desperation, Minnie goes over to Jessica's house because she knows that she's looking for somebody. And it's really an incredible story because, and in the written review I did on this, I go so far as to say that this actually reminded me of Mary Magdalene and Jesus, the story of her washing his feet. It's that profound in a lot of ways. Minnie basically comes in and teaches Jessica everything she knows as the quote unquote lower class black worker. She's teaching Jessica everything she knows, from cooking to cleaning to taking care of the house to social manner, all that kind of thing. And it's really incredible. At the end of the movie, Jessica and her husband invite Minnie over for a celebration, and it's just incredible. And I will say, at least I thought this movie was a bit of a tearjerker. And if you haven't cried by the time that they have the party at Jessica's house at the end, you're a pretty tough customer for movies. So then, as you get into the end of this movie, it has a pretty good ending. I would say, it's the moral of the story is great, but if I go back and reconstruct what I was trying to sort of say earlier, when you take a look at these timeless ideas that we discussed, friendship, courage, telling the truth, being a friend, doing what's right, and you combine that with the right time, the right spark, and the right people, you have an explosive story that develops. And that's what you have with this movie, I think, is a really explosive story. And the backdrop, like I say, it could have been many backdrops, but this backdrop worked beautifully for the story. I think almost anybody could like this movie. I think you could take your 9 and 10-year-old kids. Younger than that, I'm not 100% sure, but certainly you could take 9, 10-year-old kids or older. Older women are going to love this, going to flock to this movie, I think. I think men will be missing out on it, and I'll bet that when you take a look at the ratings last weekend and you saw Planet of the Apes as high as it was, it's going to be because the men were out watching that while their wives were watching The Help. And they're making a mistake by missing this movie because it's a great movie. I think it's going to probably be nominated for Best Picture this year. And again, anytime a picture is nominated for Best Picture, which I think it will be, it's worth seeing. So I would highly recommend that you go take a look at the film. You'll really enjoy it. And if you don't, like I say, I'd be really surprised. Anyway, sort of as a couple bits of housekeeping, I post all my movie reviews on Facebook. I've got a lot of old movie reviews there. I primarily post the written ones on Tumblr, TUMBLR without the E.com. And that's where I've got sort of a history of a lot of my movie reviews. I'm posting most of these video reviews on YouTube, and then I'll link them to Facebook. So anyway, I'm going to be trying to do more of these, and I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you recommend them to your friends. Anyway, have a great weekend coming up here. Have a good time at the movies, and we'll see you next time.